I call the meeting to order. I will begin with the territorial acknowledgement. We would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in the Robinson Huron Treaty Territory and that the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, specifically the Garden River and Batchewana First Nation, as well as the Métis people. Roll call: John Bruno, Ian McKenzie is here, Eva is here. And Margie is here. Sunny is absent. Chief Stevenson, Deputy McLaughlin, Sarah Miles, and Lincoln Loudon are here as well. It is 1:04. I'll call the meeting to order. Any conflict of interest declarations? Seeing none, carry on to number 5. Questions and information arising out of the minutes and not otherwise on the agenda. Any? Seeing none, we'll move to number 6, the adoption of minutes, September 28th. And I have a mover, Ian, and a seconder, Marchi. Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting as presented be hereby approved. All in favor? Approved. Motion to accept the agenda, October 31, 2023. Marchi, moved just by Marchi, seconded by Ian. I think we should put in, I think we did put that in, right, Chief? Yeah. So he needs to know. Okay. Sarah, that's it? Yeah, do I need to put number 13, new business? Did I announce that now, the intimate partner violence?
You can add that to new business, yeah.
Okay. Be it resolved that the agenda of the regular meeting as presented be hereby approved. All in favor? So at this point, we are going to take a little tour. There is the Command 1 tour downstairs, and we thought we'd start the meeting first and then get to number 8, then break for this meeting. We should be back by probably 1:30-ish. 15 minutes. Okay, about let's say 1:30 or okay. So if you could, those of you who are on the video, please reconvene in about 20 minutes.
We'll leave this up, John.
Okay.
We'll just turn our mic and our camera off.
Right.
Okay,
that's
come back.
That's good. And as soon as we come back, then we'll make sure that everybody has an opportunity to get back on board. So thank you for coming today, and we'll be here shortly. Thank you. I'd like to resume. The time for our resumption of our meeting is 1:30. We will resume with number 9. Presentation, Vulnerable Persons Registry by Sergeant J. Stevenson.
I don't know if you guys the opportunity to see these. These are pamphlets that we created.
Anywhere.
Okay.
You just go up there, brother, and
Okay.
in front of your screen, and they can all see you.
Sure. Okay, so in February, we started to develop this wandering vulnerable person registry. And in June, I believe that we actually launched it. So a couple reasons for this is because of obviously our old methods of policing has all changed. Police officers are not one-dimensional police officers now. They wear many hats. So that being said, this came out that we do deal with a lot of autistic children or adults. We deal with a lot of people who have Alzheimer's, dementia, mental illness, through also drugs as well. So this is one of the reasons why we started adopting this, because we need education for the officers to get to have better outcomes when we do have these crises. So looking at this, obviously, we need a lot of partnerships throughout our community. We went out and we spoke to several, as you'll see down the slides, and we started getting some information on this and creating like really strong bonds, especially through the Alzheimer's Society. And then technology nowadays, it's changed with everything in life. And like right now, instead of coming to our police station 3 years ago, you bring a picture and sign a name, and that was it. It was at our front desk. That's how people register for Alzheimer's disease. So now you go on the computer, within 5 minutes, the picture's up, the information's up, as you're gonna see more, and a lot of personal information that's gonna help the officer de-escalate the situation really good. So immediate information is something that was very important, because a lot of times going to the calls, the officers are getting this call, they're missing, they've been missing for 15 minutes. Sometimes we pass them, we don't know because we're on the picture, right? And with the new computers in the cars, hence technology, they click 3 buttons and the picture's up with the appropriate information, the name, and there's questions in there saying how we're going to approach them and try and de-escalate the situation or help fix their crisis that they're in. So that was a really big part of this, because the immediate information is very necessary for the officers when they come in contact with the person in crisis. And it's going to be safer for the officer and or the person. So these are some of the people who are living with autism, Alzheimer's, dementia, brain injury, intellectual disability, medical ailment that we're promoting to register. We're hoping this captures everyone, because it's wandering vulnerable person's registry. And we did that purposely because it's not just a person who's going to wander. It's persons that officers are going to go to a call and they're in a big crisis. It may not just be a wandering person, right? So this information, as you're going to see, I believe it's the next one, is the information we ask. So what's the vulnerability? Are they with us? Is it medical concerns? Do they have diabetes? Do they need their medication within 2 hours? Best way to approach a person. It's not just that they're wandering, maybe they're suicidal at that point in time, right? What's the best way to go up to someone and say, okay, what's the best word I can use to de-escalate? So common techniques is in the questions. How? Like sometimes people, like you talk about a spouse or place they went to school, it reduces all their anxiety or crisis. So all these things are huge that an officer can get on a click of a button, heading to the call or at the call. So when they go to the call, they have information to de-escalate, know what to do, what not to do. Don't say a trigger word or call someone, because there's emergency contacts on there as well. And then they can go. Like a lot of times, I've done this presentation 9 months ago or 8 months ago about the getting of things, but this one here, I use example as the Toronto on the bus with the male, with the police shooting. They didn't have information of what his vulnerability was. They didn't have information that he was mentally sick or that he liked hockey, right? So if I go up to someone, hockey's the big thing. Hey, did you see the Leafs last night? It de-escalates. The officer knows what to say instead of guessing. So these questions are registered towards that. So it's going to help the officer and the person in crisis. So public information, as I first started, I went out and every person that dealt with mental health in some sort of way, I contact all the organizations, spoke to them. What do you think? What questions? What do you have? What do you have like that are within our community? So that's where I kind of pulled the wandering vulnerable person registry out of it. We do not duplicate anything within this community. Yes, there is a vulnerable persons registry, but that's for something totally different. It's for basically persons that are at home and they need electricity to keep their monitors going. That's what that's for. This is totally different. We talk to them and supporting each other. So if I get something and I think maybe the Project Lifesaver bracelet is good for a person, I would recommend that. And everyone on the other side of the organization are recommending us. Like Alzheimer's Society, obviously, even Finish Home, I just got in contact with them, they have over 400 to 700 clients in that one area. They want us to do presentations in there. Now their enrollment includes our pamphlet. So it's all through their organizations that are helping us. And just on a side note, like developing these partnerships, I believe like we're in the community, people are seeing what we're doing. And it creates a lot of trust from the community and support from the community for officers and for community members. So it's been really good. Yeah, the people reaching out to me, that's really nice to hear. So what we did is we launched it in June. Think it's been doing a great job. It's all through social media. Every couple months we'll throw out, hey, remember to sign up. I've done a couple, people that are doing it now in different organizations, sign up days or registration days that I go down or Link and I will go down and we'll help them through the computer or people in whatever questions they have. We've done a couple of those so far. And we want to get it yearly that there's a reminder because something changes in that person. They could go back, they have a number and they could change the picture that they smoke now, that whatever it is change, they could resubmit it. And it comes back to me and then I approve it and it's back in the computer that gets it like that.
Jeremy, yeah, that was going to be my question. It's their responsibility to update into the system, or how does someone want to update their profile, say?
Yeah, so it's pretty easy. So you go back on the online reporting, which is Cop Logic, and you have the CL number and you put it in and it's supplementary report. You go in, you change basically whatever you want to change. And then it comes to me. So how it works is they go on, I've timed it, it's less than 5 minutes, including putting a picture on. Then they press send, it comes to me, I approve it, like I make sure everything's good and it's within our community. And they get an email back and says, okay, here's all the forms, here's your number. And I put in a little note, please keep this number for your records. And it's in the computer system. It's that fast.
But it's their responsibility to do any change upgrade. It's not yours. You're not
No.
going through a file saying.
Yeah,
have you-
no.
Okay.
Yeah, we just try to do the reminders, right? So they can be, oh,
Jeremy, I have two quick questions. Who would be able to see this registry? And the second question, personal information protection. How do we protect people from picking up phone numbers of vulnerable people and going through the web and sharing that number and so on and so forth? And the other question is, who sees it? Like,
Okay.
who's able to see it?
so I contacted 15 different organizations, police departments, and asked them about theirs. So everyone has a liability form online that they click and sign and say, okay, this is who I am. I'm over 18. They give us approval to give it to first responders. So that's kind of saying it's a liability. I went through Senator McKinnon just to make sure. And I put everything together. So ours is by far the most. That if you read it, it's saying this is the liability form and I can't remember, I apologize, whatever that act is.
Freedom of
And
information.
there you go. Yes, so I went through that, I put it all in there, made sure, and I brought it over to Senator McKinnon, she looked it over as well. And so that's one thing. Now, when it comes to us, all the officers can see it. It's on their profile. It is only used for investigative purpose. Like if we're going here, they're only allowed to use it for an incident. So it'll come up and see it like that. It should not be given to anyone else. That being said, if the fire trying to get into a house and they're like, hey, we have this person, is she on your registry? That's also part of the liability form that it's first responders, not just police. So they need to know, okay, someone's in there, they're in a wheelchair, they can't get to the door, it'll be on there. And then they get that. They won't get their personal information.
They
just
get
what
that
it is.
from police services.
Police service, yes.
Yeah.
It stays in our RMS system.
What about the agencies, all that group of agencies that,
They do not see it or get anything.
okay,
It's all private. It just comes to us and we're the only ones that disseminate the information.
perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so these are partnerships that I've created, Alzheimer's Society, I guess I had them very close, so we talk quite regularly. Also, I'll go about Autism Foundation, is another one that's big, and we're gonna just got approved for a sensory kit, which kind of goes into this as well. And they're providing all that for us to put in cards. They've been very helpful, and I've talked to every single one of these. So, and everyone, before I even finish my spiel, they're like, absolutely, I'm on board. What can we do? What can we help? How can we do this together? So. I hope that was too fast, I don't know.
Question.
No, but
Yeah, ask
No,
questions.
that's better than the police was, chief.
Well, that gives me an entry point. Thank
He'll
you,
be still here.
Counselor Bruni, but one of the things he mentioned to me in the, we were chatting about it in the office, and he says, you know, chief, you know, when we're going to a call and the description of the vulnerable person is coming out, and the beauty of this is it comes right onto the screen, so the officer going to the call could actually see them now. There he is, boom, because they're not usually far from where the call or the incident occurred. And that's an amazing little piece of this, so.
Well, that surplus, all the information is gathered in a non-emergency environment.
Yeah. Good
All
point.
ahead of time, all accurate, and all right at the officer's fingertips. Because when somebody's missing, it's the last time you want to get crucial tombstone data from people, right? I mean,
When they're upset.
when they're upset, yeah, so.
Our old way, we'd go send the car there. They'd get the information, it takes 20 minutes. Then they relay it back to dispatch. Now we're looking at 30, 40 minutes. Now it's just,
It's nice because the officers will know when they get to the house.
Yeah.
Who
what
they're
they
looking
can
for,
do.
what they can do.
Kind of a safety,
Yeah,
also,
absolutely.
yeah, it's good.
also where they're last located, is another one that says on there, if they like attractions. So they have starting points, right?
Nice.
But I think it's a big plus for the service itself. It's not just a matter of going out and looking after bad guys and caving in doors, et cetera. That's a
Yeah.
huge service, you know, for those vulnerable people within our community and to their families, you know, he's lost. We can call the police services. They may be able to help us.
Quite often it's repetitive too, the people, if they wander, it happens more than once.
Yeah.
Families get better and better at keeping it under control, but it still happens again.
Understandable.
Thank you, Jeremy, unless there's any other comments or questions, thank you for the really informative presentation.
Sorry it took 6 months to get here.
That's it.
Thanks for the patience.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
You too.
Thanks for the sled, by the way.
And don't listen to Margie. That brings us to number 10, communications and reports, information only, led by the chief.
Okay, so we're gonna go through the year to date, and unfortunately, this is up until June. And we had some changes in our stats area where there's some staffing issues that we had to get the new person up to speed, so we're slowly crawling back, and I do apologize. But we will be able to likely catch up before the end of the year. So I'm gonna take you to the January to June 23, which is most representative of all the other individual ones. And as you can see up on the calls for service, cumulatively, we are up about 5% this year compared to the same time last year in calls for service. Non-reportable are up 13, reportable are down 3. When we look at our crimes of violence, now again, folks, this is up until June, so it's not obviously representative of the last 3 or 4 months. But our crimes of violence in the city were primarily down. Robbery was neutral, assaults, sex assaults, and IPVs, as I've stated before, were down across the board, with IPVs down 13%. If we compare it this year to last year, 621 in June, 716 last year. IPVs were up around 824 in 2020. And they've been, in terms of reporting IPVs, they have been steadily declining. That doesn't mean that IPVs do not exist in our community, and there's a whole other conversation there. In terms of crimes of property, to summarize it, generally down, break and enters are down 17% from 316 to 263. Businesses were up slightly, but residences were down significantly, 23%. Sheds and whatnot were down 27%. Attempts were down 21. When we look at theft of motor vehicle, we see we went from 81 to 46, or a 43% decline. Attempts went from 3 to 1. We see shoplifting, theft from motor vehicles has been down 20%. Shoplifting itself is up about 16.5, 389 to 453. Mischiefs are up a little bit, 15%. Frauds are down. Look at sudden death investigations, pretty common, 79 to 76. And motor vehicle collisions were relatively constant. We see bail violations were up about 14%, and mental health arrests and investigations were down 23%. So again, that represents to June. I don't want you to think that that's September. And we will have those stats for you as we get our staffing back up to speed. When we go to the next, and if you want to jump in, we'll go to use of force. Our use of force statistics is between July and August of this year, as you can see. And basically, the number of incidents doubled from 8 to 15. The number of reports, 14 to 21. Firearms pointed, it basically quadrupled from 7 to 32. The use of CEW was consistent, 6 to 6 between July and August. You can see the incidents are there on your report already, but when and where the officers utilized their appropriate use of force to the situation. The total number of use of force reports from January to August this year was 113, up a bit from the same time last year, that was 92. What are public complaints? We received 2 complaints in September this year. The first one is being resolved informally. The second, the file is closed. Between the 2 years, year to date, we've had 32 and 22 and 48 in 2023. And sometimes that is accounted by the same complainant laying multiple complaints against the service. I know the deputy has spoke for that in the past. Next slide is our board report and travel log. I have reviewed it as well as the deputy, and there's some higher price tickets there when we're looking at executive mentorship programs and whatnot that we do for our senior commanders. And that's all part of the developmental process in senior command. That's Mr. Chair, the majority of the data for that particular section.
Any questions or comments?
The only comment I would have, Mr. Chair, is I'm sure we're gonna see some dramatic changes in some of these statistics once we gather up what's happened to us in September and October.
That's, I would support that as well. We'll see it in the overtime.
Thank you. Number 11, just maybe request for donation, maybe where that came from. It's, go ahead.
Speak to that.
Duncan, say.
Chair. So there's been an ongoing initiative with the Sault Ste. Police Service going back many years where a local company would donate stuffed police dogs to give to children that are involved in calls for service to help them with some of the trauma they may be dealing with as a coping mechanism. Recent changes, our sponsor is no longer providing those to us. So we thought we would request that the board, through their board auction account, potentially consider purchasing some stuffed animals to give the children that calls for service, to continue this program to support children that are dealing with some difficult times and tragedy, in their lives in terms of police involvement. So I know it's a positive, campaign that's been going on for many years, and I bring it forward to the board for consideration.
Thank you for that, Lincoln. Questions or comments?
What are we looking at for
1,500.
That should buy us about 100-ish, stuffed animals that are personalized with our logo and stuff on them.
Does that
Yeah.
clash with Stuff the Bus
No,
that goes on, or are they?
These are specifically given to children, Ian, that are involved in police calls. So say if an officer attends a
Yeah.
infant partner violence call and there's children in the home, they can give these to the children to try to
Good.
help them cope with something that they may have seen or experienced.
Good enough. I'll move to
Motion
the,
moved by Ian, seconded by Marchi. Resolved that the board approve the donation of approximately $1,500 for the purchase of stuffed dogs for children who are coping with trauma to be funded from the board auction account. All in favor? Approved.
just under a point of order there now, should the sponsor come back again, then we would just drop out, right? Because
Yeah,
they
so
come back.
what we'll do is we'll make a one-time purchase.
Yeah.
And then if the sponsor comes forward, then obviously we can address it then, but.
Good.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
Number 12. Now, I've got a few points down for this, so I'd like to kind of express myself and the board members as well. We'll have their opportunity to do so as well. It gives me great pleasure to announce that the Chief Stevenson contract with the Sault Ste. Marie Police Services Board has been renewed for another 5 years. In these times of conflict, we're very pleased that Chief Stevenson continues to bring the consistency, experience, and leadership for another 5 years to our service. We have many projects in progress, and his renewal will ensure that these projects will be led by the chief, and our city can be assured that its safety and well-being are in good hands. So we congratulate him today for the renewal of his contract, and we thank you for your past service and your anticipated service in the future. Thank you. Marchi, anything to say? Yeah, no.
I would just like to compliment him for two things. Number one, there seems to be an excellent working harmony between the management here at the police services and the police services themselves. And the other thing is his heavy involvement with many organizations within the community. And most of the time, if not all of the time, is very complimentary. And that's a big plus, I think, for himself as well as the police services.
Thank you.
yeah, I just want to congratulate the chief for extending his contract. I remember I sat in the interview process when Mr. Chief Stevenson applied for the job. And we were unanimous when we decided who we wanted to run our police services. And I've heard nothing but positive remarks outside this building, which is a good sign. And we look forward to having the chief for the next 5 years. Hopefully, maybe one day he can bring in some apple fritters. And
Thank you. And thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Chief, do you want to say anything?
I just, I appreciate your, the board's confidence as well as the senior command, confidence in all our leadership. To be very blunt, we have a very solid, command team in this service. And we do have a lot of, challenges over the last even 6 months, but it's due to the connectivity, direction, and professionalism of my command team that allows us to get where we need to be now and in the future. Thank you for your confidence.
Thank you, Chief. And And saying that, I also want to bring to your attention that talking about the command team and our deputy, our deputy, chief. He will be retiring at the end of January, and we want to thank him for, as Marcy said, Marcy and I were actually in those interviews as well. So, we want to say that, you are still here until the end of January. You are part of our family. You are still going to be doing everything that you do so well. We're very proud of you, and as part of the senior team, maybe you can take it. As part of the senior team, you worked very well with everybody, and we just want to say thank you.
Thank you very much for that.
New business. Anybody want to say anything? I'm sorry, Marcy or Ian, I'm sorry, but
I think I'll hold my remarks
Emotional.
till closer to
Okay.
January when he departs, and then I'll be allowed to become more emotional and bring my Kleenex.
Yeah, sorry.
We're gonna miss him, that's for sure.
No,
that's
to the end of January, the roast.
okay. Good, good.
As will I reply.
Absolutely. Better get ready.
We could make money at that event.
Yes, yeah. Under new business, we have indicated that we were going to speak about intimate partner violence. This brought forward by Marcy. Maybe Marcy, you'd like to speak to that, and then we do have the resolutions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last night at our council meeting, there was a resolution, the intimate partner violence, and one of the recommendations was that the city request the police service board to integrate intimate partner violence into the police services community safety and well-being plan in accordance with the recommendation number 10 of the Renfrew County Inquest, which they had 86 recommendations. So council has passed this resolution, and I'm just bringing it forward, and I'd like to have it implemented here.
Sarah, could you read that?
Sorry, John, you have the paper, it's in your front.
In my front. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
I'd like to speak to it, and obviously I totally support it. The service, and our mayor has been, consistent on this, obviously, over the last couple of weeks, last week. I do believe that, raising the awareness of epidemic, to the issue helps in two particular ways. One, hopefully it allows us to acquire additional funding for research in our universities, in our ministries, to see how we're doing it now, how we can do it better, and how we can prevent what happened in the last few months. In addition, and maybe more importantly, that the funding goes to help victims of violence. We know that over 80 to 90% of victims of IPV are female, and that Bob and I have been doing this for 37 and 40 years. We've made some strides over the years, but we clearly haven't got to where we can be, where women feel safe in their homes when they're living with an abuser. So I look forward to, and I'm very comfortable that all levels of government will listen to this designation of epidemic. I know a number of councils have initiated, I can tell you, the Zone 1A, Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police, but I am honored to lead at our last meeting in North Bay with Chief Scott Todd. We are putting a recommendation forward to the Ontario Association of Chiefs Board that I am a member of, to lobby government for the designation of epidemic. So I do believe a lot of us in the industry, in law enforcement and public safety, in shelters and victims, in researchers, all know that we have to do more. We have to do more as a society, and not one individual institution, but all of us. So I look forward to where this goes, and I appreciate Counselor and Board Member Bruni bringing it to the table so that we can elevate it within our health and safety plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, Leanne? or Marcia?
100%.
In favor of that? Okay, let me read the resolution. I'm sorry. Be it resolved that the Sault Ste. Marie Police Services Board will work with the city to integrate partner violence into the police services community safety and well-being plan in accordance with the recommendation number 10 of the Renfrew County request. A mover for that, Archie, and a seconder, Ian. All in favor, unanimously approved. Thank you, Marchie, for bringing that to our attention as well as Chief, for all that has happened in the last little while as well. Hopefully we can get better at doing this in the future. That brings us to next meeting date is November 30th. Adjournment time is 2:02. Mover and a seconder to adjourn. Marchie, moved, Ian seconded. All in favor, approved. The regular meeting is adjourned and that the board enter into a caucus meeting after a 5-minute break. If we need a little bit more, Chief.
Probably 15.
Okay.